Hey guys, check this out. This is the new MKM Maximo, designed by Bob Terzuola. It's a tactical titanium frame lock with an aggressive 4mm drop point style M390 blade. It's a dark, stonewashed titanium with an awesome frag pattern or crosshatch pattern milled into the handle. There's thumb studs and a flipper, and a removable glass breaker. I have to say, this is one of my favorite Terzuola designs, but it does have a couple of issues. They're not necessarily deal breakers, but there are some issues that, especially for on a knife this expensive, we're gonna have to talk about. So here's all the different variations for sale right now on White Mountain Knives. There's black titanium with a black stonewash blade, or gray or bronze titanium with a stonewash blade. There's also black micarta, green micarta, or black carbon fiber. And they range in price from $200 to $260. And I have a discount code at White Mountain Knives, SHARPAF, one word will get you 10% off. So on the version I bought, that would take off about $26. And you know, for these materials and made in Italy, not China, titanium and M390, and with this amount of finish work done, I feel like the price is pretty fair on these. So here's my issues with the Maximo. The deployment action isn't that great. I will say though, after breaking it in for a week or so, it's gotten much better. Originally, it was pretty hard to deploy with the thumb studs, and very easy to fail with the flipper. It almost felt like maybe there's too much tension on the lock bar, or maybe an issue with the detent ball, but now it's doing much better. So if you order one of these and aren't happy with the action, break it in a little and see if it improves. You can still fail it with the flipper a little too easily, but it's much more consistent now. I still wish the detent was tuned in a little bit better though. The main problem with this flipper though is there's no jimping. It's got a good angle on it at least, it's not like it's sloping down, but you will occasionally slip off. I mean, I can still catch it okay, but you have to be really deliberate with it. It's easy to slip off and it's also easy to fail in the first place, so you just have to be intentional. Either give it a little flick or hook the tab a little harder. Some jimping would have made this a non-issue. It almost feels like the flipper was kind of an afterthought. Honestly, I would prefer just the thumb studs. Maybe if it was done a little different, I wouldn't mind. And I want to point out too, I'm being very careful not to put pressure on the lock bar when deploying the blade with either method. That's not the issue here, I'm not locking myself out. It's just not tuned in very well. The other thing with the lock bar though, is there's no jimping on it either. So similar to the flipper tab, it's a little bit slippery, and you kind of have to dig in, and it takes some effort to get that to disengage, and it can be kind of unpleasant. Here's the deal though, if you're buying this knife for a tactical knife, none of those things really matter. This isn't supposed to be some little fidget toy. If you want to open it, you can, and you're not going to be closing it 100 times a day to where the lock bar causes any real issues. The knife as a tool is more than capable. So here's what I love about the Maximo. It's got a great blade shape. It's pretty intimidating for a drop point. It's got a nice wedge, thick blade stock, and M390 is a premium steel, and this is a big chunk of M390. The workmanship and finish are great. Everything is smoothed out nice, crown spine and chamfered edges, and there's so much detail. The closing action or the drop is great. It's shake shutty. And the way the pocket clip was done is nice, so there's nothing poking out of the handle. And it's a deep carry clip. And overall, it's an awesome looking Terzuola design. Bob Terzuola is known basically as the inventor of the tactical folder. Even if you've never owned one of his knives, the knives you do have were probably shaped somewhat by his influence in the knife community. And the Maximo was manufactured by MKM, Maniago Knife Makers in Italy. They're kind of a partnership of several different knife makers operating in partnership under the MKM brand. As far as sharpness goes, this definitely isn't a thinly ground blade. That's for sure. It did horrible on my paper cutting tests. It is still sharp, but it's ground more like an axe than a thin hollow ground knife. It's a flat grind and it's pretty thick behind the edge. So yeah, for cutting paper or hair, it's not going to do that great. But for heavy duty uses, it's going to be just fine. If you want to stick it in something or cut something, you're going to be just fine. Here it is next to the full-size Benchmade bug out and the Hogue Deka. Here's the OKC Rat 2 and the CIVIVI Elementum. And the Baby Banter and the Wee Banter. The blade length is 3 1/4 inches or 8.2 centimeters, and most of that is cutting edge. The handle length is 4 1/2 inches or 11.5 centimeters, and the overall length is 7 3/4 inches or 19.7 centimeters. The blade thickness is 0.16 inches or 4 millimeters, and it weighs 4.8 ounces or 136 grams. The pocket clip is deep carry, tip up, right or left side with a removable glass breaker. Here's what it looks like in your pocket. And all the specs online say this is an ambidextrous clip, but I want to point out that the handle is milled out for the right side position only. The pivot is running on bearings. Lockup is about 20%. No blade play. And the centering is good. Well, maybe a hair to the right. There's good weight reduction internally on both sides. It says made by Makita right there on the back spacer. It's a titanium back spacer with a lanyard hole. The pivot screw is T8 and the body screws are T6. Overall, I really like the Maximo. Yeah, there's a couple of small issues I wish had been worked out, but it's an awesome tactical folder with great materials, impressive workmanship, and it's an absolutely stunning knife. Let me know what you guys think about the MKM Maximo in the comments. Thanks for hanging out with me this far. I would sure appreciate it if you would like and subscribe. That's it for me, guys. Thanks for watching.